What's up everybody, back with another raid guide, and today we're taking a look at Mythic Vigilant Guardian and the new raid Sepulcher of the first ones. So let's hop into it. Now I'll be going over most of the mechanics, how to deal with them, as well as some tips and tricks for your progression. Now I won't be covering all of the heroic mechanics unless they've been updated for Mythic, so if you're not up to date on how the fight works, feel free to check out my heroic guide for this. Now setup wise we went with 2 tanks, 5 healers and 13 DPS. If you're running into issues with ads not being picked up fast enough or running rampant killing people, you can add a 3rd tank as the DPS check is almost non-existent. Now with that said, what's new for the wall on Mythic? Well, for starters, on Mythic Phase 1 and Phase 2 have been kinda blended together, and you'll have to deal with all of the mechanics from both phases at the same time. So on pull you'll start off as on heroic, but a few seconds later Vigilant Guardian rolls out and is added to the mix. So yeah, you get all of his Phase 2 mechanics to deal with right from the start. On top of this, Spikes of Creation has been added as a mythic mechanic, which are star-shaped traps with a circle around them that spawns near players targeted by Guardian's refracted blast. So there's 4 traps spawning per refracted blast. If a player comes into contact with a spike, it will explode and give everyone in the raid a dot that lasts for 6 seconds, and this stacks. Now these spikes will also detonate if they get hit by the D-Resolution beam or split resolution tank slap from the boss. Now the name of the game is pop him in a staggered fashion. The damage ramps up very fast, so avoid being over 3 to 4 stacks if possible, and avoid extending the dot. We assigned one of our healers to be on spike duty and pop him as needed to keep us from getting overrun by spikes. And tanks, make sure to move boss away or turn boss away from trap spawns, so the split resolution doesn't slam right on top of them and pop all traps that are up. On top of this, on Mythic, following a exposed core phase, the boss gets the ability to overclock, and anytime the boss casts this, it gains 10% increased damage done. Now this is cancelled out when you detonate a core on top of the boss, so all the stacks resets and it can no longer overclock until after another exposed core. Now this is just to keep you from holding on to a core for a very long time. Now on the subject of these cores, they only deal 15% of the boss's total health instead of 20%, so you do have to nuke the boss down a little bit as he rolls out on 100% HP now. But apart from that, it's just heroic mechanics, but a lot of them and all the time. And at 15%, boss will still go into the self-destruct sequence, and it works the same as it does on heroic. Kill boss before boss kills you. Yay, big strat. Now with that said, let's break down the fight a bit. First thing to keep in mind is this is not a boss DPS race. It is all about the ads. Up until around 40%, at which point ads stop spawning and the boss won't expose its core. So the boss is just there up until that point. Cleave it, dot it, but all DPS should be focused on ads at all time. Focus down sentries, interrupt the defense drones, and grip knock them back to the raid when they teleport. And tanks, try to aim the sentry's wave of disintegration away from the raid. Now, players targeted by matter dissolution needs to instantly run away from the raid and drop their balls far away. You never want balls in the face of your raiders. Now, range and healers, avoid standing far away from the raid as you'll run a greater risk of getting smacked by ads. If you get aggro near a tank, we'll get it. If you get aggro and you're further away than my father's affection, it'll be more of a hassle. So on pull, start killing ads near either the left or right defense matrix and tank the boss around there as well. Move boss away a bit when trap spawn or face boss away from them. When you get your first exposed core, try and keep all the ads out of it due to the damage reduction, and boss as well if possible. Can be a bit awkward positioning the boss, but just try and stand at the very edge of the matrix and it should be alright. Use knockbacks and things like that if any ads are in the matrix, as tanks can't really go outside to reposition. Now, following the first exposed core, you kinda slowly move boss and ads towards the bottom defense matrix, and as you do, any traps that spawns or is already up near the old defense matrix you just killed, you kinda ignore them as there should be little risk of anyone accidentally popping them because no one should be there. Now, directly after your second exposed core, you'll get matter dissolution, so pop a roar or wind rush if you want to make it a bit safer. You can also have a rule like matter dissolutions go left and right out of the defense matrix and the raid runs straight out into the middle, just to save that overlap. And after the second exposed core, depending on your overall damage, you can either push boss to 40% and ignore the third exposed core, and you will just not get it when the boss hits 40%, as the boss transitions into phase 2 there. Even though phase 2 only really means no ads and no exposed cores, you just lose half of the mechanics. But you still get the timer for exposed core, and the third defense matrix might still activate, but the boss's core temp instantly drops to 0 when it reaches 40% health. Just keep an eye for that. However, that being said, this isn't something you have to aim for in order to kill the boss. You can just deal with a third core as well. And if someone here has the bright idea like, ooh, let's not use the second core and wait for the third one, then pop both sub 40% or something, I doubt that's possible due to the overclock mechanic like I mentioned earlier. Regardless of how you push it though, when boss reaches 40%, you can start kiting him a little bit anytime trap spawns. That way you only need to pop traps near the boss, and Raid can ignore the traps further back as you keep moving the boss. Other than that, just slam boss. Make sure to have all DPS cooldowns ready for when it reaches 15%, stack up, lust, and nuke nuke nuke. But yeah, that's it for this fight on Mythic. It's not an overly complex fight, it's just kinda hectic at points and adds everywhere. Now if you have any questions at all about this encounter, hit me up in the comments or become a patron or Twitch sub and get access to the Stankie Discord, where you can find raid weakauras, healing notes, and a lot of awesome people to help you out during raid progression. Don't forget the usual stuff though, like, comment, subscribe, and ring that notification bell, it really helps me out. I'm also streaming all of our progression on Twitch, so make sure to check that out. It's on Thursdays and Sundays now, and I raid with a Swedish guild, so comms will be a bit swinglish. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time.